You know that feeling when you finally have a quiet moment to yourself, maybe after work or once the house is still, and suddenly you start thinking, what now? It's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's just a quiet realization that something's missing. And for a man in his prime who's already been through life's highs and lows, that question can feel heavier than it used to, especially when it comes to love, dating, and starting over after a divorce. It's not just about meeting someone new. It's about rediscovering yourself. Because the man you were back then is not the man you are now. And that's not a bad thing. You've got more experience, more insight, and believe it or not, more to offer than you ever did in your 20s. But stepping back into the dating world after a long-term relationship ends, that's no small thing. And if you've been feeling unsure or even a little intimidated, trust me, you're not alone. Today, we're going to talk about what it really means to date again when you're in the middle of your life. Not just the surface level stuff like dating apps or who pays for dinner. We're going deeper into confidence, mindset, and the kind of connections that matter. This isn't about chasing youth or trying to be someone you're not. It's about showing up as a man who knows himself and is ready for something real. Let's start with something that doesn't get said enough. You are not broken. A lot of guys come out of divorce feeling like they've failed at love, like they've missed their one chance. But relationships don't end because one person is ruined. They end because two people grew apart or changed in ways that didn't fit anymore. That's not failure. That's life moving forward. And now that you're here, it's time to let go of that old story that says love has an expiration date. It doesn't. What matters now is how you choose to see yourself. Confidence isn't about pretending you have all the answers. It's about knowing your worth even when things feel uncertain. And that begins with stopping the comparison game. You're not competing with younger guys, or with your ex's new partner, or with some idealized version of yourself from 10 years ago. The only thing that matters is how you carry yourself now. Women pick up on that. Real confidence has nothing to do with muscles or money. It's about presence. When you walk into a room and own who you are, without apology, that energy speaks louder than any pickup line ever could. The next thing to keep in mind is this: your time is valuable. You're not looking to waste it on games, confusion, or surface-level attraction that goes nowhere. So it's okay to be clear about what you want, and just as importantly, what you don't want. That doesn't mean coming on too strong or oversharing right away. It just means knowing your standards and not shrinking them to fit someone else's mold. When you approach dating with that mindset, you'll naturally attract people who respect it. And that respect, it's the foundation for real connection. One of the biggest shifts when dating again is realizing that chemistry isn't everything. It's easy to get caught up in attraction and forget about compatibility. But when you're mature, you start to notice things that actually make a relationship last, like emotional intelligence, mutual goals, and someone who can make a tough date feel lighter just by being there. That kind of bond doesn't always spark like a firecracker. Sometimes it builds like a slow-burning flame. And that's the good stuff. That's what stays. Now that we've touched on confidence, clarity, and the deeper kind of connection that matters, there's another side of this conversation we need to explore. Because showing up as your best self in this new chapter isn't just about mindset, it's also about how you present yourself to the world. Stepping back into the dating world means you're not just meeting someone new, you're reintroducing yourself to the world. And that starts with how you carry yourself in the everyday moments. It's not about expensive clothes or chasing the latest trends. It's about showing up in a way that reflects who you are now. You don't have to impress anyone by pretending to be something you're not. But there's something powerful about a man who takes care of himself, not for attention, but because it says, I respect who I am. Think about the last time you looked in the mirror and actually liked what you saw. Not because everything was perfect, but because you recognized the man staring back. The years have brought some scars, sure, but they've also brought depth. A lived-in face tells a story, and when you wear that with self-respect, it's magnetic. Women aren't looking for flawless, they're looking for real. They're looking for someone whose presence feels grounded, whose energy says, I know who I am, and I'm not in a rush to prove it. But just as important as presence is curiosity. The moment you treat dating like a job interview, everything gets stiff and transactional. But when you bring genuine interest into the conversation, when you listen not to impress but to understand, you stand out. Being curious about someone's life, passions, and what makes them laugh has a way of cutting through the noise. It shifts the focus from trying to win someone over to creating a shared experience. And when you do that, The connection becomes less about strategy and more about discovery. One thing that can trip guys up in this stage is thinking they need to have everything figured out before they can start dating again. But nobody's life is perfectly tied up with a bow. In fact, being honest about where you are, not dumping your entire life story on the first date, but owning your journey, makes you more relatable. There's something attractive about a man who can admit, I've been through some things and I'm still learning. That kind of honesty invites the same in return. And that's where real intimacy begins, not in perfection, but in mutual understanding. You might also notice that this chapter asks for a different kind of patience. In the past, maybe things moved fast, chemistry hit hard, plans were made quickly, and next thing you know, you're deep into something before either of you really paused to ask if it was the right fit. But now you get to slow it down. You get to enjoy the process. That first drink, that walk through the park, that casual dinner where you both laugh at something silly, all of it counts. It's not just about getting to a destination. It's about building something with intention, one real moment at a time. This slower rhythm doesn't mean lowering your expectations or playing it safe. In fact, it means raising your standards, not just for who you date, but for how it feels. It means not settling for less than joy, effort, and consistency. And it means walking away when something doesn't sit right, not with bitterness, but with clarity. Because you're not chasing potential anymore. You're looking for alignment. And once you start dating with this kind of awareness, a surprising thing happens. You stop seeing rejection as something personal. You start realizing it's just part of finding the right fit. You're not here to convince anyone. You're here to connect with someone who's already inclined to meet you where you are. Now that we've explored how to show up with presence, patience, and authenticity, there's still one more side to this experience that deserves your attention: how to keep your sense of purpose intact, no matter how the dating journey unfolds. When you start dating again in the middle of your life, one of the biggest things you can hold on to is your own sense of purpose. It's easy to get wrapped up in the chase, wondering if you're attractive enough, interesting enough, or if you're saying the right thing. But the truth is, the strongest connections happen when you're already living a life that feels meaningful, with or without a relationship. You're not dating to fill a void. You're inviting someone into something that already has depth. You don't have to be wildly ambitious or trying to change the world. Maybe it's as simple as enjoying your quiet routines, being present with your kids, or diving into something that lights you up, whether it's music, travel, building something with your hands, or just having space to breathe. That inner stability becomes your anchor. It keeps you from getting thrown off balance by things like ghosting, mixed signals, or the ups and downs of early connection. When your life feels whole, the dating part becomes less about seeking and more about sharing. And it's not just about emotional grounding. It's also about creating moments of joy on your own terms. So many men forget that it's still okay to feel playful. It's okay to flirt, to laugh at something ridiculous, to enjoy the little sparks that show up in unexpected places. Just because you've experienced heartbreak doesn't mean you've lost your ability to feel light again. In fact, that contrast, the ability to hold both depth and playfulness, is exactly what makes you so compelling now. What throws some men off track is the belief that they need to follow some outdated script. Say this. Don't say that. Play it cool. Wait 3 days. But you're not in high school. You've lived enough to know what matters, and that means you get to ditch the games. You can text back when you want to. You can say you had a great time without worrying about seeming too eager. You're allowed to be real, and in doing so, you attract someone who's ready for the same kind of honesty. And if you come across someone who isn't ready for that, let them go. Not with anger or regret, but with a quiet confidence that says, I know what I'm worth. Every interaction is information. Every conversation, even the awkward ones, helps you sharpen your instincts and listen more closely to your own gut. And that kind of clarity doesn't just improve your dating life, it spills into every part of who you are. Eventually, what you'll find is that dating isn't about reinventing yourself. It's about remembering the parts of you that got buried under the weight of everything you went through. It's about bringing those parts back to life, not just for someone else to see, but for you to enjoy. You get to be the man who walks into a room with quiet confidence, who isn't afraid to start fresh, and who knows that his past doesn't define his future. No matter how long it's been since you last dated, or how unsure you feel right now, trust this. It's never too late to open up to something new. The scars, the setbacks, the doubts, they don't disqualify you. They shape you. They give you depth, insight, and a kind of grounded confidence that can't be faked. And somewhere out there is someone who isn't looking for perfection, but presence. Not charm, but character. And when your paths finally cross, it won't be because you chased them. It'll be because you became the kind of man who's ready to be found. So wherever you are on your journey, know this, you're still in the game. You're still capable of love, connection, and a kind of happiness that feels earned. Keep showing up, keep trusting your own pace, and never forget, there's something undeniably powerful about a man who knows he's in his prime. If this spoke to you, share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear where you're at on this journey. And if you want more honest, real conversations like this one, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Here's to new beginnings, meaningful connections, and being your strongest self right now.